Picture this: medical students learning to read EKGs and pray for their patients in the same classroom. At Loma Linda University School of Medicine, John Mark Comer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry is required reading, and students can take classes on God and human suffering. Today, we're diving into how one medical school is revolutionizing healthcare through whole-person care, treating not just symptoms, but the complete human experience. You'll discover why this approach matters more than ever, how they're training the next generation of doctors, and what this could mean for the future of medicine. Let me bring in someone who's been following this fascinating story closely. What exactly makes Loma Linda so different from every other medical school?
It's honestly pretty remarkable. Since 1909, Loma Linda has been operating on this mission to continue the teaching and healing ministry of Jesus Christ to make man whole. But what's wild is how they've translated that into actual medical practice. Their approach to patient care treats the whole person, physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. When you're a patient there, they don't just ask about your medical history, they ask about your sources of strength, your outlook on religion and beliefs, your current support systems.
Wait, so doctors are actually trained to have spiritual conversations with patients? That seems like it could be, pretty awkward territory.
That's exactly what I thought initially. But according to their materials, their providers are specifically trained to guide conversations that engage the whole person. It's not about pushing any particular belief system, it's about understanding how spiritual experience or values play a role in illness and health.
Interesting. And this isn't just some small experimental program, right? This is a full medical school?
Oh, absolutely. Loma Linda University Health operates 6 hospitals, has over 70 accredited residencies and fellowships, and serves patients across the Western United States. They're a major academic medical center with 8 schools that make up their healthcare-focused university. But here's what's really fascinating. Until last year, Loma Linda was apparently the only remaining Protestant medical school granting MD degrees that still integrates faith into education. They've been joined by Belmont University, but that shows how rare this approach has become.
So they're like a living laboratory for this whole-person care model. But why does this matter right now? What's the context that makes this approach relevant?
Well, there's this story from Christianity Today about a student named Andrew Y. that really captures the problem. He hit a breaking point as a third-year medical student, exhausted from rounds and exams. He started viewing each patient as just another barrier between him and going home. He literally thought, "You ask me another question? That just means I'm getting home later." And the article points out that overextended hospital staff know this feeling, and patients definitely know what it feels like to be on the receiving end.
That's brutal, but probably way too common. So what's the bigger picture here?
According to the Christianity Today piece, US healthcare right now is basically a story of shortages, staff burnout, and unhappy patients. Between backed-up emergency rooms, overloaded nurses, and denied insurance claims, the medical system is overdue for change. And here's the thing, today's leading medical organizations are actually coalescing around this idea of whole-person care. It's a holistic approach where doctors build relationships with patients and take social, spiritual, emotional, and behavioral factors into account.
So Loma Linda has been doing for over a century what the rest of healthcare is just now realizing it needs?
Exactly. The article puts it perfectly. US healthcare needs more compassion, and this one medical school in San Bernardino has been teaching this model for more than a century.
Okay, so let's get practical. How does this actually work in their curriculum? What does whole-person medical education look like day to day?
Their curriculum is distinctively Christian, emphasizing a holistic approach to patient care. The mission permeates the educational process with courses that approach medical ethics and decision-making from a Christian perspective, and clinicians that role model caring professionalism. But it's not just theoretical. They have state-of-the-art educational facilities, including a medical simulation center with virtual reality technology. Students learn, practice, and get assessed on medical procedures in a safe, hospital-simulated environment.
So they're combining cutting-edge medical technology with this more traditional approach to caring. That's actually pretty cool.
And their students are actively involved in service, international medical mission trips, outreach to underserved communities. According to their materials, students consistently demonstrate care for the welfare of others.
You mentioned they have a podcast too, right? That seems like a modern way to share these ideas.
Yes. The Evening Rounds podcast is fascinating. It's Loma Linda University Faculty Medical Group's first ever podcast, featuring ground-level health discussions and shared life lessons from doctors who provide care there. The episode titles alone tell the story. the story behind the X-ray, where Dr. Thomas Donaldson reflects on why understanding a patient's life story is essential to healing. When Music Meets the Heart, with Dr. Shama Williams on excellence and compassion in cardiology.
Those titles are so different from typical medical content. It's like they're treating medicine as storytelling.
Exactly. There's A Zebra in an English Forest, Making Sense of the Unknown, about how compassionate care brings hope in moments of anguish and uncertainty. Or Balancing Blood Sugar and the Soul, where Dr. Scott Lee finds deeper meaning behind diabetes care. And From Atomic Bomb to Healing Beam, Dr. Jerry Slater talking about how his father's vision helped bring proton therapy from a physics paper to a healing force that transformed cancer care worldwide.
That's incredible. So they're not just talking about whole person care in theory, they're showing real doctors sharing how they live it out.
And it goes beyond just the podcast. They have this whole infrastructure around whole person care. There's a Centre for Whole Person Care that helps the campus understand and implement the approach, prioritizing research, education, and practice.
Wait, they have an entire center dedicated to this? That's serious institutional commitment.
Absolutely. And they're doing workshops on things like faith, holiness, and human flourishing, and integrating spirituality in patient care. They're committed to transforming how care is understood and delivered.
But let's be real, how do you measure success with this approach? Like, are patients actually getting better outcomes?
That's a great question. While the page content doesn't give us specific outcome data, what we do see is recognition. Their Chief of Quality and Patient Safety, Dr. Ihab Dorota, received national recognition from Becker's Hospital Review as one of 90 patient safety experts honored by the publication. And they're expanding their impact. Medical students now learn from community health workers in a whole person care rotation that's been added as a curriculum requirement. They're not just teaching this in isolation, they're connecting with the broader community.
So they're actually scaling this approach, not just keeping it within their walls.
Right. And they have programs like Health 180, an 8-week, 10-session intensive therapeutic lifestyle change program helping people live longer, fuller lives. It's about prevention and wellness, not just treating disease.
That makes sense. If you're treating the whole person, you're probably more focused on keeping them healthy in the first place.
Exactly. And they're addressing some really challenging areas. They have content on sexual trauma recovery, helping people with neuromuscular diseases like ALS, caring for older adults. These are areas where the human connection really matters.
You know what strikes me about all this? It seems like they're addressing something that got lost as medicine became more technological and specialized.
That's such a good point. Andrew Y's story really illustrates that. He was at Loma Linda when he noticed his failure to approach patients as humans rather than tasks. It made him realize he needed spiritual care too. The school weaves faith into curricula, requires chapel attendance, and draws from the approach of Seventh-day Adventist hospitals worldwide. But faculty and students aren't required to belong to that tradition. It's about the approach, not the specific beliefs.
So it's inclusive while still being intentional about this holistic approach.
Right. And their leadership really captures the vision. Randall Roberts, their Vice President of Spiritual Life and Mission, says, "The teaching and healing ministry of Jesus Christ takes into view the whole person and seeks not only to cure but heal, not only to teach but inspire."
That's a pretty powerful mission statement. Not only to cure, but heal. There's a real difference there.
And they're not just talking about it, they're training providers to guide conversations that engage the whole person. When you're a patient, they want to understand your life experiences and how spiritual values play a role in your health.
But here's what I'm curious about. Is this approach actually scalable? Can other medical schools and hospitals adopt this model?
Well, the fact that leading medical organizations are now embracing whole person care suggests there's appetite for it. And Loma Linda has been proving it works for over a century. They're not some small experimental program. They operate 6 hospitals, have 70-plus residency programs, serve patients across the Western US. This is a major academic medical center showing that you can deliver excellent clinical care while treating the whole person.
And the timing seems right. If healthcare is facing this crisis of burnout and impersonal care, maybe this model offers a path forward.
Exactly. The Christianity Today article suggests that what healthcare needs is more compassion. And Loma Linda has been teaching that for more than a century while maintaining clinical excellence.
You know, there's something about this that feels both revolutionary and completely obvious at the same time.
Right? Like, of course you should treat patients as whole human beings with emotional and spiritual needs. But somehow that got lost as medicine became more technical and specialized.
And now we're rediscovering that the human connection is actually central to healing, not just a nice add-on.
Exactly. When you look at their Evening Rounds podcast episodes, doctors sharing personal stories about finding meaning in medicine, connecting with patients, balancing the technical and spiritual aspects of care, it's powerful stuff.
So when you step back from all this, what's the bigger picture? What does Loma Linda's approach tell us about where healthcare could be heading?
I think it shows that excellent clinical care and compassionate whole person care aren't competing priorities, they're complementary. You can have state-of-the-art technology and virtual reality training while still asking patients about their sources of strength.
And maybe that's exactly what healthcare needs right now, not choosing between high-tech medicine and human connection, but integrating both.
Right. Loma Linda proves you can train doctors to read EKGs and pray for patients, to use cutting-edge medical simulation, and still see each person as a complete human being with a unique story.
And for patients, that probably makes all the difference between feeling like a medical case and feeling like a person who happens to need medical care.
Exactly. When healthcare providers are trained to understand your life experiences, your support systems, your sources of strength, not just your symptoms, that changes the entire dynamic of care.
Here's what I find most hopeful about this story. Loma Linda isn't just talking about whole person care as some future ideal. They're actually doing it right now, at scale, with real patients and real outcomes.
And they're showing other institutions that it's possible. When leading medical organizations start embracing whole person care, they can look to Loma Linda as proof that it works in practice, not just in theory.
So the next time you're in a doctor's office and they ask not just about your symptoms, but about your life, your support system, what gives you strength, that might be the future of medicine taking root. And that future looks a lot more human than the healthcare crisis we're experiencing now. Thanks for diving into this with me. Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts. Remember, the most revolutionary thing in modern medicine might just be treating patients like complete human beings. Sometimes the oldest wisdom is exactly what we need most.